Okay, this is an extension to the topic 4-4. I thought I would add something about how to factor now that you've done it with the box method. You'll end up doing some more with quadratics and different kinds of things, but I want to show you some tricks with the calculator. By using a TI83 or TI84, I'm going to use to show you how you can find the factors of a quadratic, and this is found on page 555 in your Holt textbook. So with a calculator, I want you to carefully go through these with me. We're going to go ahead and clear this out. Put in this equation, x, using this button here, squared. You can use the house top with a 2, but this is faster. It'll just put it in this button right here. Oops. You can even see that. And we're putting in this equation. Minus 3 squared, I'm sorry, 3x minus 4. Alright, if you hit this button over here, this is the graph button. And it will graph it for you. And you will find, especially in some later units, I'm kind of getting a little bit ahead, but this is a lesson that went along with this topic. Where it crosses, this is the quadratic equation, and where it crosses the x-axis are the solutions. This is also called the roots. It's also called the zeros. It's where the quadratic, the parabola, crosses your x-axis. So if you follow these steps in your packet, it will show you that by entering this in and pressing the graph, you can trace using the left and right buttons, these right here. So when you hit trace, you're going to see a flashing cursor, and you can follow it along the parabola, and it'll be fairly close, showing you exactly where those are. But if you'll notice, if you count the marks, this is at a positive 4 and this is at a negative 1. Well, how you're going to put that in to binomials would be, because you're setting it equal to 0, this is a negative 1, so it becomes x plus 1. I'll explain that in a minute. This is at a positive 4, so in the binomial it becomes x minus 4. The reason for that explanation is when you've set this equal to 0, x minus 4 equal to 0, then solving for x, you'd be adding 4 on both sides, so x would be a positive 4. And that's why you're seeing it on your calculator as a positive 4. And then likewise, you take this binomial, x plus 1 is equal to 0. You're setting both of them equal to 0. When you solve this, you're subtracting 1 on both sides, so that's where you get your solution of negative 1. So when you're doing it by looking at the graph, you're always finding the opposite to put into this over here, the binomial form. Okay, another way to get the very exact, if you'll see this cursor, we use the trace button just to trace over to it, but you can actually, I gave you some other, well, you can read through these steps and it'll show you that by hitting the enter button, it kind of draws it again, but it'll actually put the cursor directly on it. It's not exactly at y equals 0, so I've given another little side note here on your notes to explain that you can get a more exact, not just by tracing it with the trace button, as in example 5 it's showing you, but you can actually find the exact, but you have to do an extra step. That extra step is after you've put your equation in, you put a 0 in for y2. So if you, oops, put it in the wrong place. You move your cursor down to y2, put in a 0. You can look at the graph again if you'd like. This one's actually moved it outward. But then you're going to press second trace, which is your calculate button. You're going to either slide down or hit number 5. Then you're going to hit enter. Now it's flashing toward that right hand side of the parabola, so we're just going to use this one. For the intersect, you're going to hit, I forgot to add that, enter 3 times. I may have shown you this, or another teacher has shown you this. It's quite useful. So if you want to learn how to get these, see, this is more exact than just following along like example number 5 said to do. This will be more exact. Where x is 4, your y is 0. To get the other side, you're going to hit second calc again, number 5. But before you hit enter 3 times, you want to move the cursor. You'll see it moving all the way over to that other side. As long as it's close to the x-intercept and hitting this 3 times, it will give you the exact -1. So see, I had -1 and 4. What I'd like you to do is try using the calculator with these try this problems just for practice. You can either do it the way outlined in this activity, or a little bit my extension of finding for more exact x-intercepts. Try these, pause the tape, but I'm going to go ahead and put the answers for these 6 problems, and then hopefully it'll be able to show that without flashing. Sometimes when I put things on here too fast, it flashes. But check your answers with these once you've tried this on your own. And you'll notice that all of them but number 6 has a special, this one ends up being a fraction along the line. At this area right here, it's between a 1 and a, 0 and 1. You'll learn, or you can see that if I said, oops, can't see that. I'll write that up here. If I said 3x minus 2 is equal to 0, 3x would be equal to a positive 2. Solving for x would be equal to 2/3, because you would divide by 3. So 2/3 is about where this is, and if your calculator, you're going to end up with decimal point 6666666. But you can change a decimal into a fraction. If you'll remember that the numerator goes in your binomial here, and your denominator goes here. But see your teacher for further explanation in a quadratic that factors like this one. It's a little different than 1 through 5.